Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Welcome to Game Time with Hubb, your all-access pass to the hottest stories in football, basketball, boxing, and wrestling. Whether it's game-winning touchdowns, buzzer beaters, knockout punches, or jaw-dropping suplexes, we've got it all covered. Here's your host, Hubb.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time with Hubb, and today's episode is loaded, man. We're talking about the Cam Newton stuff with Jalen Hurts. We got the WNBA pay debate, and we're breaking down all the latest, in WWE. We got SummerSlam that's heading our way next weekend, so pretty excited for that. And we're going to close things out, with some real talk today. We're going to talk about, Hulk Hogan. And I know, it's a touchy subject for a lot of us. But we got to do what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right on into it, man. Cam Newton, Jalen Hurts, was it respect or was it shade? Cam lit things up this week on his 4th and 1 podcast when he left Jalen Hurts off his top 10 quarterback list. The reason being is that Cam says that Hurts is tough to grade because he's surrounded by so much talent. You got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got that offensive line, the defense, Saquon Barkley. And this is what Cam had to really say. He said, it's hard for me to grade Jalen Hurts. With the talent he has around him, it's hard to judge, what Jalen can do. Cam even pointed out, that Hurts threw under 3,000 yards last season and questioned if that's really elite production. Now he gave Jalen respect personally, called him a stand-up guy, but rankings-wise, he ain't giving him the crown. But the NFL community, hey, look, they fired back with Ryan Clark, clapped back hard at Cam, brought up Cam's Super Bowl fumble. Cam responded saying keeping it football is not personal. Cam had his jabs at Ryan Clark as well. T.O. chimed in. Cam had smoke for him. And also we seen Gilly the Kid, and Cam had smoke for him too. But just last night we saw Ryan Clark make a post and basically gave Cam his flowers and, basically saying that, we got to stop with the personal attacks when Cam says something because that's just the way it is. Like every time that Cam Newton has a critique on a player, people always bring up, personal shots at Cam and not look at, Cam's absolute production and play. Like Cam was a bad boy. You got to realize that Cam took a basically like a mediocre Auburn team to the national championship and won. He took that Carolina team, got MVP, went to Super Bowl. We know they lost. Yeah, the whole fumble thing, whatever. But you can't deny Cam Newton's skill. And if Cam Newton is speaking, he's speaking based off of his perspective as being a quarterback in the NFL. But Cam's point of view is that Jalen Hurts is good, but he's boosted by his surroundings. Everybody else is saying, Hurts is elite because he wins, supporting cast and not. My take personally, Jalen Hurts is a baller. Plenty of legends have had good teams. Brady, Montana, Holmes, we didn't discredit them, so why are we going to do that to Hurts? And to me personally, I got Jalen Hurts in my top 5 quarterbacks that are in the league right now. And I got him at, arguably 4 or 3, depending on how, I'm feeling at the moment. So I got number 1 as being Patrick Mahomes. I got number 2 is Lamar Jackson. Number 3 is Josh Allen. And, I can arguably put Jalen Hurts there. Number 4, I got Hurts. And I end off my top 5 with a Joe Burrow. You know what I'm saying? But me, I disagree with Cam, but I also understand where Cam is coming from. Cam is saying that basically, he can't call him elite because we haven't seen him do it what he has. But on the flip side, that's what you're supposed to have. Like you know what I mean? Like if you're trying to win, you're trying to build the best team. You know what I mean? Like I'm far from an Eagles fan, and I really care less about them. But they do it the right way. They build around their quarterback to give him what he needs to go out here and be successful. So if you got two of the best wide receivers out there, you got the best running back in football, you got one of the best defenses in football, you got one of the best offensive lines in football. Like you have a nice solid tight end over there. Like Jalen Hurts has weapons, and no, he don't have to be elite for them to win. That right there's what I really agree with Cam on. Like Jalen Hurts just has to be good. But if I want to spin it and say, if I put Joe Burrow on Philadelphia and put Jalen Hurts on the Chargers, neither one win a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't get all the hype about Justin Herbert, but it is what it is. People put him in they top 10. I'm like whatever. Like but but my whole thing is, man, like I don't think that he's elite. I think there's only two elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Because when I think about elite players, I'm thinking like a Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. I'm thinking about times when you were in the game and you're like, it's 2 minutes left and Tom Brady got the ball. I'm sitting in my brain automatically thinking, New England gonna go down there and go score. If it's Peyton Manning, Indianapolis gonna go down there and go score. You know what I mean? If it's the 49ers in Montana, they gonna go down the field and go score. If it's Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, I'm thinking like 2 minutes, he got enough time to get down the field and score. Same way with Lamar Jackson. Like, Lamar can rip off for a 50-yard run and put them in position. When I think about Jalen Hurts, and I like Hurts, I think about like, if it's 2 minutes to go, I'm not sitting there saying, oh, y'all cool, y'all got Hurts. Like in the same way about Josh Allen, I don't sit back and say, oh, it's 2 minutes left, y'all got Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Like, man, y'all are good. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are good quarterbacks. But like, Jalen Hurts is a winner. Jalen Hurts is what makes Philadelphia go. Like, yeah, and having Saquon back there's no need for him to throw for 3,000 yards. That's the part where I truly disagree with Cam at, because if I'm a quarterback and I got this guy behind me that can get 2K and he's averaging he's like 5 yards a carry maybe. Why not give him the ball and let him do his thing behind his best offensive line in football? Like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to discredit Cam for his, opinion. Cam played. Cam was league MVP. Cam took a Carolina Panthers team. He got drafted to the worst team in the league and changed the organization around down there. Cam should be getting more credit in Carolina than what they absolutely give him, and they don't. You know what I'm saying? Cam is the same dude that took a Auburn team to the national championship and won. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to discredit, Cam Newton's ability. Cam can have his own opinion, but I do disagree. Like, I think Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback, and I had explained why. But I'm so glad that these debates and stuff is up now, because we're leading into NFL training camp right now. We got, like training camp starting. Preseason football is going to kick off next week with the Hall of Fame game. Like, we're back to talking football, baby. Like, but like I said, man, Jalen Hurts is a baller. You know what I mean? I do disagree with Cam, but I understand where Cam is coming from for what he says about the whole, like, he has a lot around him. And no, we haven't seen Jalen Hurts do it without all that talent that he has. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, if I'm a quarterback, I want to have a lot of the best talent around me so we can go out here and go win. But Jalen Hurts is what makes the Philadelphia Eagles go. Like, but that's where we're gonna leave it at. You know what I'm saying? And we looking forward to this next season to see how they do on defending the crown. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna wrap up this segment with that. Like, football's back. I'm so glad. More to come about the NFL. Moving on, man, we're gonna flip it over here to the WNBA. WNBA players, you know what I mean? Look, they want a pay raise. You talking about the money here, man. The WNBA is blowing up. Record TV ratings, sold out arenas, and they just signed a brand new $2.2 billion media deal. And the players, they want to be paid like it. If the NBA players, you know what, man, they get around 50% of the league revenue. The WNBA players, they get less than 10%. I think it's like 9%. The players aren't asking to match the NBA money. They just want, equity. And that's where a lot of people need to pause on from, because I'm seeing a lot of people in social media comments, oh, they looking to be paid like a LeBron and Steph. No. They just want to be treated fairly. And they do deserve, and I understand people. Well, the WNBA, they gonna be they just signed a $2.2 billion deal starting in 2026. The bargain agreement, with the players right now, that thing expires on Halloween of this year. They have the opportunity to pay these girls more. They need to be paid more. You got stars like, Aja Wilson, Nafisa Collier, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they're everywhere, and they're driving the ticket sales, the jersey sales, the media buzz, but their contracts, they don't reflect it. Like, Aja Wilson got one of the hottest shoes out right now. I just got my daughter a pair for her 8th birthday, like last week, and she loves them things. I want a pair, but I want the joints in blue. And everything pop up. It's a whole different colorway coming out. Angel Reese has a shoe out. Fee is signed with Jordan. Caitlin Clark got colorways with the Kobe brand and gonna have her own shoe soon. Like, these women, Sabrina got her own shoe too. But like, these women, like, yo, like, they do the deserve to get paid. You got some of these players, man, they going overseas in the off season, they get extra income. They playing in the unrivaled league. You know what I'm saying? Imagine getting paid enough where you don't have to go and need a second job. It was clips of, Candace Parker saying that she used, like, the WNBA was her summer job. You know what I mean? So, they do deserve to get paid more for what they're putting out. The like I said before, man, the CBA, it ends in October. The players want better revenue sharing. They want charter flights. Increase salary caps. Right now, the salary cap is only at 1.5 million. So they can't really sign that many players at all. You know what I mean? Like, come on, y'all. They just had the All-Star game last weekend, All-Star weekend. During the All-Star game, before the game, they had the Pay Us What You Owe Us shirts. I'm with all of that. The athletes, they just ain't playing, but they're building something here, and it's time, for their pay matches their impact, man. You know what I'm saying? If we want to look at some numbers, you got WNBA generates over $200 million annually. Players get less than 10% of that. Like I said, it's 9%. Now imagine if they got a 50-50 revenue split like the NBA. Current average salary in the WNBA is $148,000. With a 50% split, that salary is $500,000 plus. Top players can make $1 million annually. So that's nowhere near making money like LeBron and Steph. So people just need to get off that dang on high horse and just chill out, man. Half y'all ain't even watching the stuff. You know what I mean? But if they do this, it would definitely change the game. It'd be no more need for them to go overseas. I'm quite sure they still gonna be playing in an unrivaled league, because that started by Nafisa Collier and Stewie. But you know what I mean? Like, there's no need for them to go overseas. We saw what happened to Brittany Griner. You know what I mean? There'll be no need for them to go overseas at all. You know what I mean? With a new deal in place. It'd be no more flying coach. Just proper investment in the women who are elevating the league. And if you look at the league now, this new draft class that just came in here with Paige, Sonya Citron and Kiki over there, bro. Like the league is elevating. And we're not even there because we're gonna get Flau'jae in the league. We're gonna get Juju in the league. You know what I mean? WNBA is rapidly growing. You know what I mean? Let's start doing the right thing, man. You know what I mean? These women right now are elevating the league, they're elevating women's basketball. Like I said, my daughter is all into it. The A'ja Wilson stuff. She plays basketball. She's really into it. You know what I mean? I enjoy going to the games. I'm excited that we're getting a Philly team in 2030. Like, yo, season tickets on deck. Let's go. You know what I mean? And none of this is it's not about bankrupting the W. It's about giving the players, their fair cut in the league. And that's finally getting its flowers, man. So my bottom line is this, man. Pay them, man. Pay them what they deserve. You know what I mean? Like, and once again, for those in the back who ain't listening, ain't hearing, they not asking for LeBron and Steph money. They just want to be treated fairly, man. That's all. You know what I mean? Like, yo, half y'all don't even watch. You know what I mean? If you watch the product, it's 2 games on the night. Tune in and watch. Entertaining. Their All-Star weekend, the All-Star game was a blowout. But the 2 contests they had, the skills competition and 3-point competition, was way better than what the NBA put on last in dang on February. February. You know what I'm saying? So, yo, come on now. Pay them, bro. Pay them what they are owed and pay them what they deserve, man. Let me go shift gears, man, over here to WWE. Oh, man. So my wrestling fans, man, listen, man, look, this week's SmackDown, I guess depending on who you are, it was a little emotional for, whoever you are, WWE honor Hulk Hogan, for 10 bell salute, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Jelly Roll, they paid some type of tribute, you know what I mean? Respect. Cody Rhodes and all that. And then, we got into the heat, at the Wyatt Sicks, they retained their tag team titles, Chaos broke out, with Nikki Cross interfering, and, now we got a 6-man TLC match at SummerSlam. I think that's going to be lit. So it's going to be the Wyatt Sicks versus Fraxium versus Motor City Machine Guns versus the Street Profits versus DIY versus Andrade and Ray Phoenix. So I think that might be one of the best matches on the entire card for SummerSlam next weekend. Then we had Cody Rhodes came out, took shots at John Cena. Cody says about legacy now, not just titles. He wants the old John Cena to come out at SummerSlam, wearing the belt the right way, hustle, loyalty, respect, him talking to Stu when he walks out. And that'll be pretty cool if we get it, because we're going to start seeing the face turn of John Cena from the heel turn. Because I'm quite sure before he hangs it up, he's going to be face again. So I'm looking forward to that. I do think John Cena going to retain. But also we got another one. We had Jacob Fatu. He went up against the Miz, took down the Miz. Solo Sikoa and the MFTs got involved. Jimmy Uso came out to help out. So you know what? Like, the bloodline drama always continues. Like we had on Raw with Roman Reigns is back. Jey Uso. Hey, listen, I'm coming to Raw next month in Philly. I'm gonna need Roman Reigns there because my daughter's looking forward to seeing Roman Reigns. So if you happen to see this, my man, I need you to be there, bro. You know what I mean? But anyway, man. But SmackDown was pretty cool. They had Hulk Hogan tributes all throughout. You know what I mean? That leads us into like SummerSlam coming up this Saturday and Sunday next week. August 2nd and 3rd, MetLife Stadium. Got Cardi B hosting. 2 nights straight. Madness. So far the card is, night one card, Gunther versus CM Punk for the world title, Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill for the women's title. You got Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. You got Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Then you got the tag team TLC match. And then night two, you got the undisputed title, which is Cena, Cody Rhodes in the street fight. Naomi versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky, triple threat for the women's undisputed title. And then you got Sola Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu in the steel cage for the U.S. title. I expect to see another surprise appearance for somebody. Either it's going to be Tama Tonga or somebody else coming out. You got Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. Please let AJ win this, John. You know what I mean? Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyrian and no DQ for the women's IC title. This SummerSlam looked like it's going to be, pretty. It's going to be one of the most historic ones, man. This is the first SummerSlam where it's going to be a 2-night event, capitalizing off of that. So I'm looking forward to it, man. This is the biggest event of the summer, for wrestling. And yeah, like that's what it is. Like I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably gonna drop another. I'm gonna come back and do my predictions on next Saturday before everything kicks off. So stay tuned for that. And then now as we moving on. All right, so it's time. We got to talk about thoughts on Hulk Hogan, man. The icon, the legacy, the controversy. We're gonna close out with a real one today. Let's say, man. Look, first I'm gonna start off with this. Look, Hulk Hogan was a game changer. The red and yellow, the real American, body slamming Andre. Making wrestling mainstream. He was WWE, WWF in the 80s and in the 90s. Then when he flipped over to WCW, that's when it got, iconic, more iconic with the NWO, became Hollywood Hogan. The heel run in WCW, it shifted the entire industry, but, like with everything, man, his legacy was complicated. He had some racist comments, years back that hurt fans, including myself. It damaged trust, man. It really did, man. It was like like my childhood got kicked. You know what I'm saying? Like but even when WWE brought him back, the love wasn't the same, and I strongly agree to that. Where I stand, as a performer, legendary, as a man, flawed. As a wrestling figure, one of the most impactful ever. Like, he passed on Thursday, and I tried to I wanted to post, but I kept deleting it. And it was like a mixed bag of thoughts because when I thought about it, think about Hulk Hogan is that's what got me into watching professional wrestling. So I've been watching wrestling since the late 80s. You know what I'm saying? So I used to tell people back in the day, I used to tell people all the time, professional wrestling was like my babysitter. I used to sit on my parents' bed and watch hours and hours of professional wrestling. Like I used to watch VHS tapes, Coliseum home video of WWF. Then you had the NWA and the AWA tapes. So you got to watch your Ric Flairs, your Dusty Rhodes, your Sting. The Road Warriors. Got to watch Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Andre the Giant. But so it was it was tough. It was what, I know what he said. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and it ain't sit right. And even though he apologized, my thing is this. I'm the type of person I feel like if you're going to say whatever you say, you absolutely mean it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there isn't no need for you to apologize if you say something that's like out of pocket because you're saying what you really mean. So I didn't really take the apology like, oh yeah, it's all good, Hawk. Yeah, hey. But it was just like, all right, man, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like, but I never take away what he brought to professional wrestling and how he elevated professional wrestling and how he got me and others into watching professional wrestling. Like if you my age, so I'm 41. So if you're my age, then more than likely, if you've been watching wrestling since like the 80s, early 90s, more than likely it was Hulk Hogan that brought you in. And that's where I'm at. It's like I'm thankful that he got me in professional wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like back in like my guys have always been I had a WCW guy which was Sting, franchise at WCCW. That was my guy. WWF was Hulk Hogan until he left, and then it became Bret Hart. But it was like the past couple of days, I just remembering like my childhood, like you know what I mean, like because I had a whole bunch of wrestling figures, wrestling rings, like it was even at a point my dad made me a wrestling ring because I kept breaking them, so he made me a homemade wrestling ring. To a point I'm remembering like riding the train from Philly as a kid, and I left my Hulk Hogan and Big John stud on the train, and I can remember crying about it because I left, you know what I mean, like my two of my favorite figures on that train. And it just brings back a lot of memories, man, like going to the movies, my dad dropping me and my brothers off because they had to go take me to go watch No Holds Barred. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm remembering just a whole bunch of stuff like Saturday night main event, watching Hogan versus Savage, you know what I mean, the whole thing break down in like the in the back in the medical joint where Macho Man attacked Hogan, like leading into WrestleMania 5, Hogan versus Savage. Then you got WrestleMania 6 where you're 6 years old and you're torn between Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan because you liked Ultimate Warrior too, and it just really just like took me down memory lane. So like as far as like a professional wrestling standpoint, Hulk Hogan was, you know what I mean, like the GOAT as far as like, elevating professional wrestling to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Like, bringing in, Hollywood to professional wrestling. We know like Piper was in movies, but it wasn't as magnified as Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the household name. Even if you didn't watch professional wrestling, you knew who Hulk Hogan was. Like, and there is no WrestleMania without Hulk Hogan. So, you know what I mean? So, like, if you look at like WrestleMania 1 with Piper, Hogan, Mr. T, Paul Orndorff, you know what I mean? You got Muhammad Ali, you got, like Cyndi Lauper, you know what I mean? You had star-studded spectacle for WrestleMania 1. And, like, and I know people, rest in piss and all that. I'm not gonna say that. I'm never gonna speak ill on somebody who's not here. You know what I'm saying? That's just not the way it is. I don't think that's good for anybody. At the end of the day, that man got a family. No matter how we may feel about him, that man got family and friends that's out there grieving right now. They don't need to see all of that because my thing is, say if that was, one of your loved ones that wasn't a right person, but you loved them. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't want somebody speaking bad about them at all. So you leave it like that. I always been told, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, then don't say nothing at all. But, Do we excuse him for what he said? Nah. Like, even in apology, like I said, like I feel like you said what you meant. You know what I'm saying? But from a standpoint of professional wrestling entertainment, you know, you can't deny the man at all. You know what I'm saying? So for that, like I said, Hulk Hogan is the reason why I started watching professional wrestling, and that's how I'm gonna leave it. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of my wrestling memories, it do involve Hulk Hogan. Like, I was the kid, I had the Hulk Hogan workout set that came with the headband, the little workout joints. You know what I mean? I used to rip my shirt off as a kid. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole part of my childhood, and that's the things that I thought about when I heard about him passing. It was like, damn, man, like the Hulk going. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like I've been like I knew of the man when he was called the Incredible Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Then he became the Immortal Hulk Hogan. Then over here the Hollywood Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, like, like, and you hear about things about him in the business or whatever, and it's like, hey, you shady dude, whatever. But like, you got me in professional wrestling. Me and a lot of kids, I grew up, I watched, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. A lot of the stuff for me was wrestling and football. You know what I'm saying? Like, that right there was it. As a young kid growing up, man, I always watched professional wrestling. Every wrestling game, I had it. You know what I'm saying? Like, pay-per-views, I watched them. You know what I mean? Like, VHS tapes. Like I said, I sat on my parents' bed for hours, just watching, wrestling tapes. I remember watching the Road Warriors, you know what I mean, coming out to like the Iron Man joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like the scaffold matches, all of that. I remember watching, Jim Cornette breaking I think what he was his legs or something, or his quad, something like that, when he fell off the joint. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember a lot of stuff. People would be like, yo, like you was so young, and cause like it was like, hey man, like it was a part of my childhood. So, as far as Hulk Hogan, man, listen, bro. Rest in peace to the Hulkster, man. Hey, look, you train, you pray, you ate your vitamins, hey man, look, you made wrestling larger than life. And, without him, professional wrestling isn't what it is today. I don't think we get an AEW. I don't think we get a TNA. WWE isn't what it is now, the big juggernaut that it is. WCW wouldn't be, what it was towards like during like its highest points without Hulk Hogan, and yeah, that's it. I mean, I owe it to my childhood to speak on this. I wasn't like, I kept making the post and not making the post, and I kept taking it down, and it was just tough to find what I really wanted to say. So I just said, look, I'll just hop on the pod and just talk. You know what I'm saying? So I, I see a lot of people post and see a lot of people feel certain ways. You know what I mean? I get all of that. And you know what I mean? Like I feel the same way too, but I'm not gonna express it on a platform in front of the entire world. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's just the way I was, the way I was raised. And I also believe that, when you say things, you say what you really mean. And there's no need to apologize for it. So we understand what Hulk Hogan said in those tapes, whether it was private tapes, it didn't mean to come out, whatever, but it still was said. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to take away from that man's legacy for what he did for professional wrestling. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to switch up and say, oh, Hulk Hogan ain't the reason why I got in professional wrestling. Like, he is the reason I got into professional wrestling. And it's crazy because like my dad and my brother, one of my older brothers, man, they text me on Thursday and was like, "Yo, you all right? Because we know you used to be a little Hulkster." And I was like, I started laughing because I'm like, that's crazy. Because like I always tell people like, yeah, like you grew up watching this stuff, man, and back when I thought it was, you know what I mean? Hey, like, and I was like, you know what I mean? It was like a kick to like the childhood. You know what I'm saying? You see somebody that that you grew up watching, that got you into watching, like things like professional wrestling, and you see him go, and it's like I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel like, you know what I mean? Like it was like a mixed bag for me. It was like, how am I supposed to feel? And then I started watching some of the tributes yesterday on SmackDown last night, and I was like, damn, man, like all those highlights that they were showing, I was like, yo, I saw all of this. You know what I mean? Like, yo, like I've been a wrestling fan for this long that I witnessed a lot of this stuff, man. Like, yo, like, man, like I had a good childhood, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought about the wrestling figures, and I thought about, like going to live events, at the Philly Spectrum back in the day. That's where they used to have the WWF, and over at the Civic Center was WCW. So I remember going to was it like Halloween Havoc, like I think it was like 88, 89, one of those. It was Sting teamed up with was it Ric Flair, and he took on the Great Muta and Terry Funk in the steel cage. I remember a lot of that, man. I remember seeing the Road Warriors in person. I remember seeing, going to WWF, live events in the early 90s. You seeing Hulk Hogan, you seeing Ultimate Warrior, you seeing The Undertaker, Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man. You know, it just brought back a lot of my childhood memory thoughts just to think about all of that. And now here I am, I'm gonna go to the Monday Night Raw next month, and I'm taking my daughter for her first time. Like we roll with the tribal chief, man. Like, and I'm hoping that he's there, because if he's there, it makes the day for her. Because that's who she likes. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's all about, man. Like, I appreciate professional wrestling. Professional wrestling was a huge staple in my childhood. And even like now, I go and I watch it now. It still bring out that, that inner child, man. You watching that joint, you're like, man, look. And now but you see it from a different perspective than you did as a kid, But like I said, man, Hulk Hogan's the reason why a lot of us got into it, and that's how I'm gonna leave it, man. So once again, man, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Hey, you made wrestling what it is today, bro. That's all I really got to say, man. So that's a wrap on this episode of Game Time with Hubb. From the quarterbacks, controversy with Jalen Hurts, Cam Newton stuff, WNBA paydays, man, WWE, SummerSlam Carnage. We covered it all today. Tap it on the socials, man. Hubb Legacy on Instagram. Same tag on TikTok. Game Time with Hubb on Twitter. Game Time with Hubb on YouTube and over there on Facebook, man. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This podcast can be listened anywhere you get your podcast from. Exclusive, also, most importantly, on all the Spotify, among others, man. So until next time, man, look, I'll try to get back next week to do a SummerSlam preview. Probably have some more things to talk about from NFL training camp. Got the Hall of Fame next weekend. So stay locked in, man. Stay real and keep it game time, baby. Appreciate y'all. We out. Peace.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Game Time with Hubb. Make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss Game Time action. See you next time.